Two cars collided, and I was rushed into the delivery room at the same time as another pregnant woman. This patient's water has broken. She needs immediate intervention. Quickly, get the spousal consent. Just as I was about to be wheeled into the operating room, I quickly said, "My husband is very busy, I can sign for myself." Before the words were out, the other pregnant woman's husband rushed forward. "Save her first, her situation is more serious, she has heart disease." His face was covered in blood from the tension, but I still recognized him. "David, you're my husband, my husband." "I'm David, an OB/GYN at Metropolitan Hospital. You can trust my professional judgment." I reached out, trying to touch him, but he slapped my hand away. "But this patient's water has broken." David glanced at me. "She can't die. I'm her husband, I can sign a waiver of liability. The car accident happened suddenly, and the hospital staff was stretched thin. So this chance for surgery was rare, and it was supposed to be mine. Just because my husband was an authority in OB/GYN at Metropolitan Hospital, everyone trusted his professional judgment and delayed my surgery." As my hospital room bed was pushed away, David didn't even look at me. His hand was tightly gripping Sarah's, all his affection laid bare. "It's okay. Once the request is approved, I'll perform the surgery myself. You'll definitely come out of surgery safely." The tenderness in his eyes stung me. Without a room, I was left in the hallway, watching his deep affection for another woman. Patients coming and going were surrounded by their families, always having a shoulder to lean on when they were afraid. My shoulder, however, had been granted permission to personally perform surgery for his goddess. He walked past me, pausing for a moment but not turning his head. He left decisively, only a faint phrase lingering. "You can't die. Please trust my professional judgment." I don't know how long that surge lasted. While waiting, I drifted into a hazy sleep. When I was woken up again, I found a large group of medical staff gathered around me. "The patient has developed acute amniotic fluid embolism. Quick! Contact the blood bank." "Where's Dr. David? Call him quickly. He's the only one in the city who's handled amniotic fluid embolism. We have no experience." A group of people's hurried footsteps echoed. My hospital room bed was quickly pushed by a few male nurses. They comforted me, saying it would be okay. Saying my husband was the city's most authoritative OB/GYN expert, who had handled 2 cases of amniotic fluid embolism with a success rate as high as 99%. Plus, I was young, healthy, and didn't have the typical blood type issues, so the chances of survival were high. I was wheeled into the operating room, the white lights shining down. Everyone was bustling with urgency, yet calmly broadcasting my vital signs. "No! Oxygen saturation is dropping too fast. The patient can't hold on." "Where's Dr. David?" My Dr. Williams was anxious, his hand gripping mine felt cold. The nurse beside him said nervously, "Dr. David left right after finishing Sarah's surgery. He said Sarah woke up and wanted some porridge, wanted him to make it himself." "Call him." Called, no answer. "The baby!" "The baby isn't breathing either, the mother has no will to live, she's fading fast." My Dr. Williams squeezed my hand and told me firmly, "You were assigned to me, I won't give up easily, and you shouldn't give up on yourself. Notify pediatrics to join the rescue, we'll do our best to save both the mother and the baby." "Okay." I blinked silently. As long as there was someone in this world who wanted me to live, I would fight to live. The other interns were still trying to contact David. My Dr. Williams, along with several senior doctors from the hospital, began a race against time to save me. I saw bags of blood plasma/blood units brought in full and taken off. I empty, watching the doctors sweating profusely but not daring to relax for a second, feeling a pang of soreness in my chest. Just then, an intern excitedly held up my phone and said, "Dr. David called the patient. We can reach him." On speakerphone, everyone in the operating room, could hear David's voice. He shouted from the other end, hurried and angry, "Lin Meng, where did you put your maternity bag/go bag? You're not giving birth anytime soon anyway, I'll take it to Sarah to use." I saw my Dr. Williams frown, his expression grim as he handed the tools in his hand to the senior doctor beside him. He walked over to the intern and picked up the phone, which had been disinfected and bagged. Dr. David, your wife has acute amniotic fluid embolism and is currently being rescued. You have experience in this area. Please come to the hospital quickly to assist us in rescuing your wife. Beep, beep, beep. The call was hung up directly. Seriously? Is he crazy? He won't save his own wife, but he'll prepare a maternity bag/go bag for someone else's wife. Authority my ass, he's a total scumbag. The voice was loud, and I couldn't help but laugh. Dr. Williams realized his words might affect me and quickly apologized. Anesthetized, I managed to convey it's okay with my eyes. Because I thought he was right. But at that moment, despair washed over me, crushing my last bit of stubbornness. Patient's oxygen saturation is dropping rapidly. Notify the blood bank to continue transferring blood plasma/blood units. Riverside Hospital urgently began requesting blood plasma/blood units from hospitals across the city. The news of a patient with amniotic fluid embolism at the hospital became widely known. Even news reports began broadcasting it. And at that moment, Metropolitan Hospital finally sent over a doctor who had previously handled amniotic fluid embolism surgery. As soon as he entered, he quickly said, "What a coincidence, Dr. David's wife from our hospital also just gave birth, and I happened to be visiting when I heard about this, so I quickly applied to come and help." Dr. David's wife? My Dr. Williams subconsciously looked at me. Dr. Peterson, David's colleague, who had handled several cases of amniotic fluid embolism with David, wasn't overly nervous. After arriving, he stabilized the situation. Seeing my stats gradually returning to normal, he started chatting to lighten the mood. When I came in, I saw pediatrics rescued the newborn, a chubby little boy. But I kept hearing them call out, and the baby's father never came. Is she a single mother? Dr. Williams cleared his throat. The other doctor didn't seem to notice anything was wrong. Speaking of strange, David's wife is staying in room 303. Why isn't he here to help you? He's an authority in this area. Could it be that his wife is giving birth, and he's worried and refused this life-saving opportunity? As he spoke, an intern couldn't take it anymore and retorted directly, "Dr. Peterson, the one lying in front of you is Dr. David's wife, Lin Meng." Dr. Peterson chuckled. Kids will say anything. I've worked with David for so long, I know who his wife is. It's Sarah, not Lin Meng. Damn it! Dr. Williams watched my previously stable stats plummeting. He immediately said anxiously to Dr. Peterson, "Why would we lie to you? This is David's wife, he admitted it himself. Now that you've said all this, the patient had a little will to live, but now it's almost zero." Dr. Peterson slapped his forehead. "I thought you were kidding." Just then, the cry of a baby was heard. Dr. Williams called out to the two doctors from pediatrics, "Quick, bring the baby for the mother to see." I managed to open my eyes and saw the baby, who was slightly blue and purple. I couldn't help but smile. He was so ugly, just like David. But I still loved him dearly. It was that kind of primal, uncontrollable maternal love that defied my current feelings of aversion. Finally, after a day and a night of rescue, and changing over 500 blood plasma/blood units, I finally survived. After leaving the ICU, I was moved to a regular hospital room. Mrs. Miller, the Mrs. Miller I had hired earlier, had arrived as soon as she was notified. Seeing her awkward expression and the used diaper in her hand, I immediately understood. "Madam, Mr. David insisted I go attend to Ms. Sarah first." I really couldn't refuse. Just as I was about to respond, I heard David's voice from outside the room. "Mrs. Miller, hurry up. The baby spit up again, and Sarah doesn't have the strength to hold him." As he pushed open the room door, he clearly froze for a moment. Meeting my gaze, he said with a nonchalant attitude, "The baby's still in the incubator, so Mrs. Miller isn't needed for him right now. I lent her to Sarah for a bit, I'm sure you don't mind." "Oh, right. I notified Professor Jones and Eleanor to come take care of you. I'm too tired from taking care of Sarah. I don't have the energy to look after you anymore. Please understand." Just as he was speaking, some of his colleagues came over with a pile of gifts. "Why are you still here? Your wife is looking for you over there. What's wrong with Sarah?" He instinctively thought they meant Sarah as his wife, and rushed over anxiously. His colleagues followed him, leaving only Mrs. Miller looking confused. "You're Dr. David's wife? Wasn't that Sarah just Dr. David's friend? Why is everyone calling her wife?" I smiled. "Maybe everyone is mistaken." Mrs. Miller threw down the cloth. "Doesn't he have a mouth? He gets misunderstood and doesn't explain. I think Dr. David is just a philanderer. He's probably hoping people think Sarah is his wife." Someone who didn't even know David well could see his intentions at a glance. Sarah was his unrequited goddess from his school days. He didn't even dare to confess his feelings to her, but his crush was widely known. If I hadn't gone with him to a class reunion, I wouldn't have known that someone as arrogant as David could be so subservient. When facing Sarah, he always bowed his head. His roommates joked with the recently divorced Sarah, "Sarah, goddess, you're so unlucky." If you had accepted David's confession back then, wouldn't Dr. David's wife at Metropolitan Hospital be you now? Where would anyone else fit in? And I, anyone else, sat there eating steak. All of his classmates disliked me, thinking I was a third party between David and Sarah. If it weren't for me, their goddess would at least have found a partner. Even David thought so. After the class reunion, he started giving me the silent treatment, using work as an excuse to only come home once a week, and even refused to accompany me to prenatal checkups. Yet he frequently appeared in Sarah's social media posts, becoming the good man she talked about. When others misunderstood their relationship, Sarah would just smile and let it pass, neither explaining nor rejecting, accepting it completely. David was the same way. He reveled in the fact that others thought his wife was the radiant and beautiful Sarah. We argued about this once. He said a clear conscience needed no explanation for false accusations and told me to respect his right to choose his friends. When it came to Sarah, he was always insecure, so when Sarah showed him the slightest bit of favor, he'd leap forward like a dog. As for me, he always thought he was my best option. He believed I couldn't leave him even before we had a child, and now with a child, I'd be even more dependent. Thus, he became increasingly reckless. But he forgot that I wasn't like him. I wouldn't always be a dog, forever eating dirt. Sarah's hospital room was next to mine. Many people came and went to visit her, David's colleagues, classmates, and even Dr. Peterson, who had been involved in my rescue that day. "David, what you're doing is disgusting. You don't even explain that your wife isn't Sarah," making so many of us colleagues misunderstand for so long, calling her wife every day. "Do you know how embarrassed I was when I was trying to save your wife that day?" Dr. Peterson seemed genuinely angry, his voice clearly audible through the wall. David replied after a long pause, "Didn't I ask you to call her Sarah? You guys were the ones who insisted on calling her wife. Why the hell wouldn't you just say she's your classmate? And your wife just barely survived an amniotic fluid embolism, and you're here taking care of Sarah and not even going to see her? Aren't you afraid your wife will leave you?" he said, trying to push open my hospital room door to let David in. But David slammed it shut fiercely. "Afraid? I'd love it if she left. She was the one who chased me relentlessly, finally got off the bench after being my backup for so many years. How could she bear to leave? And now we have a child, she'll never leave." He scoffed. "She's not like Sarah. Sarah has heart disease and isn't healthy. She's an athlete. Amniotic fluid embolism is a big deal for others, but for her, it's minor. For an OB/GYN authority, don't you know how high the mortality rate is for amniotic fluid embolism? That patient who died under your care last year was also an athlete in great shape. But she died within half an hour of the amniotic fluid embolism onset. Your wife is lucky. Maybe the king of hell felt sorry for her marrying such a terrible man." Dr. Peterson talked until he was hoarse, but David still didn't come in, merely transferring $2,000 to me and telling me to take care of myself. I blocked him and deleted all contact information. That night before going to sleep, Dr. Williams informed me that since I was recovering a bit, a reporter from the city wanted to interview me. After all, not many people survive amniotic fluid embolism, which has a 99% mortality rate for mothers. Don't worry, the interview will be quick. Afterwards, the leadership Fr. OM Metropolitan Hospital and several major hospitals will also conduct a postpartum consultation with you, which is a good thing for you. Okay. I agreed readily. David also came on the day of the interview. He was wearing a suit, standing among the crowd, talking about the difficulty of handling this particular amniotic fluid embolism surgery. Dr. Peterson stood beside him, looking dejected, not saying a word. Several leaders from Metropolitan Hospital looked at David with admiration, occasionally expressing sympathy. As doctors, we are most hesitant to operate on our own family members, let alone David facing the lives of his wife and unborn son this time. He truly has a strong heart, endured the pressure, and achieved such a perfect outcome. His direct superior praised him profusely and even gave David a look. David walked through the crowd and stood before me. You know I'm about to get a promotion, and this is an opportunity. It's a good thing it was you who needed rescuing. It would have been difficult to arrange if it were someone else. Don't say the wrong thing later. Remember that this surgery was performed by me personally. It has nothing to do with anyone else. Our leaders have already smoothed things over for me. He rubbed my head with his hand as he always did, but because I hadn't washed my hair since giving birth, it had a bit of an odor, and he wiped his hand in disgust. When the interview started, my Dr. Williams arrived late and was blocked outside by people from Metropolitan Hospital. The reporter's microphone was thrust in front of me. Madam, regarding this near-death experience, what do you want to say most? I pondered for a moment, holding the microphone. I should say thank you to the doctors for not giving up on me, and for never letting up when I was about to give up on myself. The reporter, sensing a scoop, looked at David and then back at me. Then who is the doctor you want to thank the most this time? I saw Dr. Peterson ABO. UT to turn and leave, and quickly pointed towards the door. My Dr. Williams and from Metropolitan Hospital. All the cameras were pointed at David, who had even prepared his speech. But I pointed at someone else. And Dr. Peterson from Metropolitan Hospital. The scene erupted. David stared at me, his eyes wide, holding his phone as if to text me, but after clicking send, his face turned even paler. Dr. Peterson was astonished when I named him, and then looked as if he was about to cry. The reporter was slightly flustered and quickly asked, anyone else? I smiled. Of course. The person I want to thank most is my husband. David's face immediately changed, looking at me with loving affection. But the next second, when he heard my words, he stopped smiling. If he hadn't chosen to abandon me at a critical moment to perform surgery for his goddess, I wouldn't have met the persistent Dr. Williams and the tireless Dr. Peterson who rushed to assist. I also have to thank my husband's goddess, Sarah, because if it weren't for her, I wouldn't have known that amniotic fluid embolism was just a minor surgery in my husband's eyes, something I wouldn't die from. Sarah, who was watching everything from outside, looked incredibly pale. David's superior urgently stopped the interview. David was reprimanded by his superior. He stormed to my hospital room, only to find Mrs. Miller cleaning. Where's Lin Meng? She was just here a second ago. How is she gone now? Mrs. Miller said irritably. Madam's parents had already arranged for a private postpartum clinic and just took her away. She just left by herself. After what she did to Sarah, she should have taken Sarah there too. He called me and found all his contact methods were blocked. So he called Professor Jones and Eleanor. Professor Jones and Eleanor divorced when I was young and hadn't paid much attention to me growing up. The only time they might have intervened was when I was desperately chasing David. At that time, Professor Jones was David's professor, and seeing how hard I was trying, he helped create opportunities for me. But Professor Jones always seemed to dislike me, and when David asked, I told him the truth. Professor Jones preferred boys over girls and disliked me from birth. David looked thoughtful. After we got married, Professor Jones was very good to David, using almost all his resources to help him. David would sometimes taunt me when he was happy after drinking. Lin Meng, you're such a pathetic creature, unloved by both parents. Professor Jones really does prefer boys over girls, willing to favor me over you. Honestly, I thought so at the time. After all, since I got married, Professor Jones had contacted me much more often. He would always praise how outstanding David was in front of me. If David needed anything from him, he would rush over faster than anyone. This had led David to act as if he were their own son. He'd call and speak in a demanding tone. "Professor Jones!" Lin Meng went too far. You heard what she said during the live broadcast/televised interview, didn't you? It really affects my and my classmates' reputation. I heard you and Eleanor took her to a private postpartum clinic. My classmate just gave birth too. Can you pull some strings and send her there? Lin Meng can pay for it. Professor Jones was sitting beside me. He already knew the full details of my rescue. His face was heavy, his brows furrowed. "David, you don't really think you're my son, do you?" The opening line completely bewildered David. Professor Jones sneered, "Although Eleanor and I divorced and haven't taken good care of her over the years while we were busy with our own lives, that doesn't mean an outsider like you can surpass my daughter's place in my heart." I held the soup and took a sip. Eleanor quickly handed me a dessert. "Your favorite coconut flavor, your dad specifically told the kitchen to make it just for you." I ate it with tears in my eyes. I saw Prof's Sword Jones stand up and say angrily to David on the phone, "Eleanor and I were good to you because we hoped you would be good to Lin Meng. It wasn't because I liked boys, so I was good to you. Even if you were a boy, so what? You're not my own son, and I'm not stupid." Professor Jones hung up the phone angrily. "Back then, I don't know what was wrong with your eyes that you insisted on being with David. Now look." Eleanor nudged him. "Our daughter is hurting, and you're fanning the flames." Luckily, she was rescued this time. If anything had happened, I would have made David suffer the consequences too. They went back and forth, and I looked at the baby, lost in thought. Just then, Professor Jones said to me, "Get a divorce after your postpartum recovery care. You can't stay with someone like that." We already divorced. Professor Jones and Eleanor were both shocked, looking at me in disbelief. We divorced last month. David forced me to go. At the time, I went to my prenatal checkup alone and ran into him and Sarah. He was holding Sarah's belly like a treasure, analyzing her ultrasound, and even telling her the baby was a girl, very cute. Meanwhile, I was arguing with a woman who had cut in line, holding my own checkup report. I was almost pushed down, and David just walked past me. But Sarah saw me. That night, she sent me a message. It was a screenshot of her chat history with David. It turned out they had been in frequent contact since the class reunion. Whenever David was on night shifts and not with me, he would even video call her. In David's words, I was like glue. He didn't like me very much, but he had to be responsible for me. He said he sometimes really wanted to divorce me, but I wouldn't go no matter what, that I loved him to death. "She's not as good as you, not in any way. Sometimes I really regret not waiting for you. If I divorce her, do we still have a chance? Really? You really like me? Don't worry, even though this baby isn't mine, I'll treat her well. I won't miss any of your prenatal checkups." Sarah said she didn't want to break us up. She just wanted a father for the baby in her belly, even a godfather would do. She told me not to be too jealous, otherwise David would have too much psychological pressure. I showed the messages to David, and he broke down. "If you can't accept my friendship with Sarah, if you can't accept an innocent child, then let's just get a divorce." "Okay," I said, going to City Hall with a big belly to divorce. The staff initially refused, but seeing my firm attitude, they still processed the paperwork, reminding us that the cooling-off period of 1 month had to end before the divorce was official. David heard this and looked at me. "You better not regret this." I admit that every day after getting the paperwork, I regretted it. I was afraid I couldn't raise the child alone, afraid Professor Jones and Eleanor would prefer David and not be on my side. Most importantly, he was the person I had pursued so hard for so many years, and I still felt some reluctance. But this time, all that reluctance was shattered. Thinking of how my child and I almost died at David's hands, I truly felt nothing for him. The cooling-off period ends in 2 days. I'll go complete the paperwork then. Professor Jones and Eleanor held my hands, their hearts aching. On the day we went to finalize the divorce, my best friend and a few girlfriends came from far away, carrying a large pile of noisemakers and signs for a public demonstration/celebration. They filled the area outside City Hall with flowers and noisemakers and signs for a public demonstration/celebration, making it look like I was getting married. David appeared before me holding Sarah's baby in her hand, his face still carrying the pride of someone who had one. "Don't make a scene like this, I'm not getting back together with you. I brought Sarah here today to get married. Move, we're in a hurry," my girlfriend raised a loud speaker/bullhorn and shouted inside, "Everyone, move aside. The distinguished cheating man and his distinguished mistress are here to get their marriage license." How unlucky! Quickly, move aside. My best friend even unfurled a banner. "Congratulations to my best friend for successfully getting rid of the old man and finding a new relationship." Back then, after I married David, I really wanted him to be a part of my social circle, bringing him to our gatherings. But every time, he would criticize my friends, saying they were too childish and that he couldn't get along with them. Eventually, even when I went out with them, he would call me repeatedly, urging me to come back. He said he was afraid I'd pick up bad habits from them. But I knew it was because he was 5 years older than me, and going into my circle destroyed his confidence, making him feel insecure around a bunch of younger guys. At that time, I sympathized with his feelings and gradually reduced my get-togethers with friends. But I didn't listen to him and block my friends. Instead, I created an alt-account/private account and would occasionally complain about him to my friends. This time, when I divorced, as soon as I posted about it, they eagerly said I had finally come to my senses. They came from far and wide, one by one, to help me celebrate. Sitting there going through the paperwork, I glanced at Sarah's baby and noticed its eyes were somewhat blank and unfocused. A baby at this age shouldn't be like that. Given that Eleanor is a pediatric expert and I had also studied pediatric neurology, I instinctively felt something was wrong. This child likely had cerebral palsy, a rare type caused by a genetic mutation. After completing the paperwork, I kindly offered a reminder. David shoved me away. "Aren't you just vicious, cursing a child like that? And I'm an OB/GYN expert, surely I know more than you, a medical student who dropped out halfway." I laughed. Believe it or not, good advice is W. asked on the willfully ignorant. I was just being an idiot to even bother. Go ahead and die. Without the burden of being his wife, it felt like my old self had suddenly returned. We even stayed to watch David and Sarah go through their paperwork. I stood by, completely unaffected. My best friend chuckled, "Your ex-husband's hands are trembling with excitement, he finally married his goddess." Seeing the mockery in her eyes, I felt like she knew something. After all, she was a lawyer, and Sarah's previous husband was a well-known self-made man in the business world, but their divorce was anything but amicable. Rumor had it Sarah was kicked out with nothing. She herself claimed her husband had an affair, she caught him, but she was too foolish and didn't know how to handle it. The mistress and her husband transferred their marital assets, leaving her with nothing. I asked her about it. My best friend burst out laughing. "Seriously? You guys actually thought Sarah was some pure, innocent little white flower? She cheated with 3 men in 1 year, and her husband forgave her over and over again, finally divorcing her only when he couldn't take it anymore. The reason she was kicked out with nothing was because Sarah gave the money her husband gave her to a younger man, who then immediately left. She was left with nothing and no one. I wanted to warn you too about this woman a long time ago, but who knew your ex-husband would fall for it so quickly?" Speaking of ex-husband, he had nothing to do with me anymore. As I walked out of City Hall, David glanced at me. "I won't take the child. I want to focus on treating Sarah's child as my own. If I took the child, I'd be afraid I couldn't treat both children equally in the future. Don't worry, I'll tell the child his dad died a long time ago." "Lin Meng, you're really funny when you try to act tough." David smiled, holding Sarah's hand, and opened the car door. Just as he was about to get in, I slammed the door shut. "That's my car. Premarital property. I forgot to mention it earlier. Give me the keys." My best friend and girlfriends got into the car as quickly as possible. I slammed the accelerator, spraying exhaust in David's face. Months later, my body had recovered well enough, and I started working in the medical industry, leveraging Professor Jones's connections by having him take me to various dinner party/gala events. I quickly made a name for myself in this circle. Even Metropolitan Hospital, where David worked, began actively contacting me hoping to collaborate and purchase some advanced medical equipment/devices. That day, I was having dinner with representatives from several hospitals. Dr. Williams, my former Dr. Williams, was now a respected doctor in his own right. As we toasted each other, he chuckled, "Ms. Lin, I haven't seen you in just a few months, and I barely recognize you. The difference is huge." I tilted my head and smiled shyly. Maybe I'm just getting old. After all, having a baby changes your skin. It's understandable if you don't recognize me. He shook his head. You've become more confident. Oh, and how is little Champ? Some of the nurses in our department still talk about him. I smiled and showed him photos of my child. Since he was born, my photo album was almost entirely filled with him. At first, he was the spitting image of David, and I would get annoyed just looking at him. But now that he was growing, he looked more like he belonged in our family. As I was looking, someone had come up behind us without us noticing. David craned his neck to look at my phone screen. I hadn't realized anyone was behind me at the time, so I continued scrolling through. Suddenly, I came across a photo, and Dr. Williams chuckled, "Boyfriend." My face immediately flushed. He wasn't exactly a boyfriend, we were just seeing each other. He was my girlfriend's brother. I had met him before, but recently, because of the medical projects, and since he's a neurosurgeon, we'd been spending more time together. He looks familiar. David mused for a moment, then exclaimed in surprise, "The autistic genius doctor in neurosurgery?" As soon as autistic was mentioned, everyone looked over. Indeed, he had a rare condition called savant syndrome with autism. I smiled and nodded. It's on the autism spectrum. He's much better now. Then a mocking voice sounded from behind me. "So, after leaving me, you found someone with autism? Lin Meng, you're really funny." I turned around, and it was David. I had heard he wasn't doing well and that Dr. Peterson had taken over most of his recent surgeries. The one surgery he did perform almost resulted in a patient bleeding to death, and he had been sidelined by Metropolitan Hospital, only handling outpatient appointments. I hadn't expected to see him today. He confidently sat down next to me. I glanced at him. "That seat isn't yours." He scoffed. "Everyone knows Metropolitan Hospital is your biggest buyer at Huaxin Medical Devices. If I don't sit here, who will? Lin Meng, you'd better not play hard to get with me. I know you've been asking about me behind my back. Don't think I'll come back to you just because I'm having issues with Sarah." I rolled my eyes at him. "Please get up from that seat." He grabbed my hand, holding on tightly. "You've made your point, my patience has limits." Just as he was about to sit down, Dr. Peterson arrived with his wife. Seeing David, he frowned. "Didn't the hospital reject your request? Why are you still here?" Dr. Peterson's appearance caused David's face to darken. He grabbed me in a hug. "The hospital rejected it, but my ex-wife won't reject me, right? Meng Meng." I looked at him, wondering where he got his confidence. "Right. I won't reject you. I'll kick you out." "Security." He was dragged away by security, looking at me in utter disbelief the whole time. "Lin Meng, you'll regret this." I ignored him. After I sat down, Mrs. Peterson quickly handed me a business card. "Ms. Lin, thank you to your father for putting in a good word for my husband with his superiors. That's how he got so many opportunities. I work in beauty. You can come any time you want, it's on the house." I smiled and accepted, but I only just found out that Professor Jones had put in a good word. After David left, everyone chatted happily, and we quickly determined the direction for collaboration. After finalizing the contract, I was about to go for a drink with my girlfriend. Just as I walked out of the hotel, I saw Sarah. She was getting cozy with a young actor, her face flushed. I watched them get into the elevator. As the elevator door was about to close, Sarah happened to make eye contact with me. She looked momentarily panicked. But what did it matter to me? I turned and went out to my girlfriend's car. On the way home, David, whom I had unblocked recently after blocking him for a while, suddenly sent me a message. He probably hadn't expected me to take him off my block list. I want to see my son. After all, I'm his dad. Can I see him? He sent many messages. I replied, he doesn't have a dad. You focus on taking care of you and Sarah's child. And then I blocked him again. But I didn't expect to see David at my place a few days later. That day, I had just finished working late. My girlfriend had her brother pick me up. Our relationship had deepened, and for someone with autism to actively care about someone else was very rare. As I came out of the elevator, I saw Caleb standing in front of me with a small cake and a bouquet of sunflowers. I heard you like sunflowers, so I bought you a bouquet. This is tiramisu for you. When we got home, he skillfully entered my passcode. Professor Jones, Eleanor, Caleb is here for dinner. As I spoke, I saw David sitting on the sofa. He looked at Caleb and me, arm in arm, in surprise. Caleb wasn't very familiar with David. Seeing him, he habitually greeted him and naturally put the F. Lowers in my room. Eleanor, can I help you? Eleanor walked out of the kitchen. Don't bother. Your hands are too precious. Just wait to eat. Eleanor glanced at David. Are you done talking? It's time for dinner. David stood up and walked straight to the seat he used to sit in when he came to my place for dinner. Professor Jones and Eleanor both looked at him in shock. We didn't say we were keeping you for dinner. I meant you could leave after you finished talking. Don't hold up our dinner. Professor Jones opened the door directly. I'll find someone to help you with the child's issue. It's getting dark. You won't be able to find a taxi if you don't leave now. David looked at me. Lin Meng, can we talk? I shook my head. There's nothing to talk about. I walked into the kitchen and told Eleanor I wanted more chili. I was craving spicy food today. Then Caleb glanced at David. Should I press the elevator button for you? This remark infuriated David. He left resentfully. Professor Jones closed the door tightly after seeing him go. What bad luck. I originally planned to pick up the child from your best friend's place today, but I ran into David as soon as I stepped out. He said he was here to see the child, so Eleanor and I didn't go pick him up. He didn't even bring anything to see the child, doesn't even know the child's name, and still has the nerve to act like a father. Eleanor brought the dishes to the table. Caleb watched me, seeing me scoop up one bite after another. He chuckled. You don't. No, don't worry. A person doesn't eat the same piece of crap twice. Professor Jones told me that Sarah's child indeed had issues, which had only recently become apparent. David wanted Professor Jones to help him find a neurosurgeon to take a look. He asked for my opinion. I didn't have one. I had no feelings for David, so there wasn't much hate, mostly just exasperation. Caleb, due to his superior skills, was temporarily assigned to Metropolitan H. Hospital. I went to Metropolitan Hospital to see him. As soon as I entered, I saw Dr. Peterson. He smiled and walked over. Caleb is in a meeting. You can wait in my office, it's hot outside. I nodded and followed him to the office. As I opened the door, David was there too. He and Sarah seemed to be arguing. Sarah was shouting that she wanted a divorce. David pointed at her. Think carefully, if you divorce, Lin Meng and her child are waiting for me. Chapter 10. Sarah chuckled. She blocked you, and you think she's waiting for you? She's Ms. Lin now, and her young boyfriend Caleb is the head of neurosurgery. You haven't even seen the child, how are you so confident? David laughed. She can't live without me. She's just seeing Caleb to make me jealous, hoping I'll go back. You're thinking too much. I smiled, pushed open the door, and walked in with Dr. Peterson. We sat there chatting as if they weren't even in the room. I received your engagement invitation with Caleb. I'll definitely bring my wife. That would be my honor. Caleb always tells me how much you look out for him at the hospital. You know he has some autism and doesn't have many friends, so please keep looking out for him." Dr. Peterson smiled and nodded. David grabbed me. "Lin Mang, I'm getting divorced soon, then we'll remarry. Don't marry that guy with autism. Who wants you? You're damaged goods. And someone with autism is still better than a piece of trash like you. Lin Mang, you weren't like this before, you used to." I reluctantly pushed him away. My brain wasn't working properly before, but I'm cured now. "Don't grab me like this, your wife is here, it wouldn't be good if she got the wrong idea." Sarah chuckled and then turned and left with the younger man. David's eyes widened. Sarah waved goodbye to him and left directly. After that day, David went crazy trying to reconcile with me. He would wait downstairs at my place every day. That day, he was still waiting, it was raining evilly outside. He didn't leave. When I went down with an umbrella, Caleb asked nervously, "Should I make him some hot water?" I shook my head. Seeing me approach, David choked out, "I knew you wouldn't be so heartless, you still have feelings for me." I smiled. "You're thinking too much." I ordered a cake for my boyfriend's birthday, I just came down to pick it up. I took the cake from the delivery driver and turned to him. "A good ex is like a dead one." He grabbed my hand, and I turned and slapped him. "Stop pretending to be emotional. I'm not in the mood for your games. Go away and stay away. I don't want to see you again." As I went upstairs, there was a crash below. But I didn't pay attention. Much later, I found out that David had been in a car accident that night. He was paralyzed. Sarah didn't divorce him, but she sent him to a care facility and moved into the house David bought with the younger man. She was spending David's settlement money. But her plastic surgery failed, and she developed an infection, ruining her face. Although the child's surgery was successful, the money was stolen by the younger man, delaying treatment. My best friend heard about it and just shook her head. "See, there is karma in the world." Then my best friend held up my wedding dress, looking at me. "Wearing black for the wedding? Your boyfriend has quite the idea." I smiled and shook my head. The idea of wearing a black wedding dress was mine, Caleb just nodded. The only time he ever objected was when I said I liked him so much I could have a child for him. It was just a figure of speech at the time, as giving birth again would be a challenge for me after experiencing amniotic fluid embolism. But he immediately covered my mouth. He said he didn't need that. As a doctor, he knew very well the risks a woman who had already suffered amniotic fluid embolism would face if she got pregnant again. "I don't want you to have a child for me. I want you to live well for yourself, to live the life you love most." After getting married, aside from his autism, everything about him was good. He loved me very much. Although I went through countless hardships, I finally found my new life. The past was beyond my control, but the future is full of promise.